But if you're just joining for the recording, want to make sure you're in tune. We're talking about how we can keep following up with families post big events. Obviously, if you're listening and it's summer 2026, for our summer 2026 magazine live, the most recent event you've probably done is VBS. But I don't want you to box this into VBS. We're not just talking about that. We're looking at Easter, Christmas, Fall Fest, spring break events, whatever, gingerbread bash, however you're engaging the kids and the families in your ministry and seeing new people walk through the doors. We want to make sure you're equipped to help them come back. So again, April Raver has done children's ministry for over 20 years and works at Lakeview Christian Academy as the campus pastor, the chapel director. And she's going to share kind of a case study of how she's helped families stay engaged. So April, go ahead and share with us what you were telling me about with the Celebration Sunday idea.
Sure. So our VBS at my last church before I came here to Kids Matter, our VBS ran from a Sunday evening until a Thursday evening. And we kind of gave our volunteers Friday and Saturday off then, but we held a huge celebration service on the following Sunday after VBS. We invited all the families back that had attended. We invited the kids. We wanted them to come back and we invited them to go to their own space. We put them in the same rooms that they had been in for VBS, so they were familiar with that. And we had, them sing songs and we ran a slideshow with pictures. But as soon as they were done singing in the sanctuary, we took them back to kids church so they could have their own special time, and we didn't want them to have to sit through a sermon and think, oh, this isn't like VBS. But we had a lot of fun in the back as well.
I love that you're kind of creating that automatic connection and you're helping the families feel engaged. It is like a rude awakening, right? We're like, hey, VBS is so amazing. Now it's in a big church. So that's great that you're kind of giving that hybrid opportunity
Yeah.
where kids aren't going to go, wait a second, I really liked Sunday through Thursday and now I'm not enjoying this night. And in the chat, we're seeing postcards. Those are great. A back to school bash with a free donut the following week. Again, kids love to get mail. I love to get mail, right? I mean, how many of you love getting mail because nobody gets fun mail anymore? So postcards are always a win. You can't go wrong with those. Tell us a little bit about some of the other opportunities that you are providing. You did this celebration Sunday. How are you making it personal? How are you taking it beyond just that one time event?
For sure. Yeah, we made sure that, well, after the service on Sunday, we threw a big party, which was always a lot of fun. We invited our VBS families, we invited our congregation to come. We always slimed the winner of the offering challenge. We always did boys versus girls. So the kids knew if they came back after VBS to that Sunday party, they would get to see somebody get slimed and who the winner was. So that was probably our biggest draw of getting the families and kids to come back was that silly sliming. And I have to say, I never got slimed once. I was in the drawing, like for the girls' side almost every year, but never got slimed. So that's a good thing.
You were
But
protected.
I was, yeah, thank goodness. But, we had a lot of fun. We made sure the sermon that Sunday was really focused on just, new Christians. We knew a lot of these families that were joining us didn't have a background. They didn't need the deep theology. They just need to know that Jesus loved them. And that was basically the message we shared that Sunday, just easy, clear gospel message. Then we invited them to party. We had lunch, games, slime the winner. And, the kids had so much fun that they were begging their parents to come back, the next Sunday. But we were very intentional about, we had extra greeters, we had extra people at check-in. We wanted to design everything so that a first-time family that was coming into the church, they already felt like they belonged. It wasn't, they were brave enough to bring their kids to VBS, but how often do we have, a different setup and all of that for VBS? We wanted them to be comfortable on Sunday mornings as well. So we tried to mirror our check-in process, all of that as much as we could. Um, and we wanted them to go to the same rooms, just be familiar. And then afterwards, we tried to make it very personal by following up. We sent postcards, like you guys said. We didn't do a lot of mass emails because that doesn't get many results. But we made phone calls, we text, We sent postcards. Any child that had accepted Christ or had asked about it at VBS, we actually stopped by their house. We went to their house, gave them a Bible, and then just talked to them, talked to their parents, and prayed with them. So that was a great way to make some connections. Um, but you know, we wanted to be intentional about reaching every single family one on one in some way.
That is so good. How was the reception? Like, did people appreciate those personal connections? Do you feel like that helps more people get engaged post some of these big events?
I think so for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of them were surprised when we showed up at their door or I called them. I left a lot of voicemails where people, wouldn't answer the phone. But I was surprised how many called me back and said, I can't believe that you actually called. And we talked about their kids. We had like 150 kids at VBS, so it wasn't real big, but enough that I tried to know all of the kids by the end of the week at least, so I could associate a parent with a kid and say, "I loved watching Johnny play in the games," or, whatever, the way that Sally worships, and just being intentional about pointing out that we saw them, we saw their kids, and we loved them all.
That is so good. I think that personal touch of trying to remember a child, we've talked about this in KidMin Academy. Don't be afraid to pull a note up on your phone and write down some of these things because you get to the end of VBS, it's a blur, right? And you think you're going to remember what happened on Monday or the first day, and you don't. So at the end of every day, take a minute to brain dump and just write what were some of the key moments from the day. Get your volunteers. We used to run like our VBS and our camps in a small group model. So we had camp counselors. We were only doing day camp, but they were group leaders that were walking through the whole day, the whole week with their campers. Ask them at the end of every day. You could set up a little form for them to fill out. Say, hey, what was something that happened with one of your campers today? Or could your group leader send a written note home with one kid per day or two kids per day that's going to just shout them out, Stacy, Timmy, Johnny, so that they walk home with this personal interaction. And maybe they, if they're writing that note, they also write in a separate space what they put on the note. And now you, as the leader of the ministry, when you call Timmy's mom, you're going to be able to point back to, oh, I know their group leader was so impressed with the way they helped lead the line. Even just those little things are going to speak so much to a parent and help make it personal. But April, you said 150 kids wasn't a lot. I think that's a lot. So, like, the church I'm at currently, my previous church, we would have 200 or more, but the church I'm at right now, like, we have 40, and that's big for us, but when 40, one person could probably do all the follow-up. When you're looking at 150, that is a lot of follow-up. So how do you make that happen? Logistics and quickly, right? Because 'Cause you're not wanting it to be 6 weeks later that you're calling this parent. You want it to be pretty close to the BBS date.
For sure. Yeah, you need a team. You've gotta find a team. I wasn't sure at first. I started with just myself and my intern, reaching out, and we quickly realized that wasn't gonna happen. So, we actually partnered with several of our church families. We said, "Hey, your kids were in the same VBS group as, small group as so and so, this new family, would you mind reaching out and just talking with the parents?" And it was really cool to see them relate and just I feel like they had more impact than I would have, honestly, calling just because they could relate as parents with kids the same age and um just built connections that way. And they were able to say, "Hey, we'd love to have you come sit with us at church on Sunday." Whereas I'm running in kids and everywhere else, but they were able to issue that individual invitation, which was amazing.
That is so good. You've got my brain, like, sparking because I'm thinking, "Okay, could you have some of these families do this, and could you give them a play date pack where you say, hey,
Mhm.
here's, a coupon to a pizza place and a set of sidewalk chalk or a board game or, some, I don't know, water toys, pool noodles, I don't know. But say, hey, go and invite this family to a play date or to a pizza party. And wow, now you're making that personal connection. And that, like you said, that's going to go so much further because there's things that a parent might not ask you as a kids ministry leader, right? But they might be willing to ask another parent and just say, hey, tell me about like the safety and security. Tell me about what they do on Sundays. Tell me about what your church is like. And that, I mean, that's brilliant. It's going to help bring down those walls. And you mentioned intern. You may be out there and think, well, I don't have an intern. You could. You don't have to pay interns. I think a lot of interns get paid. I was an intern for free and I loved it. And that's how I started in children's ministry at like 17. So find you an intern that's going to do it for free. And they're out there, they exist, and they want to be invested in. And so that's a really great trade off for you to invest and mentor them, but also you get some extra helping hands.
They're
Uh,
great at organizing after VBS, the supply
oh my
closet.
word.
That was
Yeah.
my favorite intern
Yep.
task.
Organizing, sanitizing, all of the things. What would you say as we kind of close April? What's the long game? We're
Yeah.
looking at VBS. How are we thinking long term with this?
VBS was our draw-in. It was a great way to get families from the community to come to our church. We did invite them to the celebration Sunday, but we tried to be really intentional about inviting them to different events throughout the year. We had our trunk or treat where we invited them all to. We did a big Easter program, but we also had what we call a parents' night out, where we brought all the kids in, gave the parents a break. We had Remix Education come in. If you've ever came to the KidzMatter conference, you've seen Jiggy running around giving high fives at the conference. They came in and did a great program for us. But after that, we did something just for the parents. We did like a marriage retreat just for the parents. And we were surprised how many of our VBS parents ended up coming to that retreat. And just, I think it was those intentional, constant touches. And it wasn't just mass advertising email, here's what's coming up at our church, but it was intentional. Hey, we'd love to have you, come join us for this event. I sent, I don't know how many texts to, I'd love to see Johnny and Betty at parents night out. Like, we'd love to have them there, and you guys get a treat, get an evening free, and doesn't cost anything. Let them come have some fun. And I felt like the more we got our families into the church for those fun things, the more they started feeling comfortable to come on Sundays. So it
So
was,
good.
yeah.
Well, you're meeting a need. I think that's what's critical is sometimes we're just wanting them to come back on Sundays. And we do want that, but they don't want that, right? They came to VBS probably for free childcare, and maybe because they knew they went to VBS growing up, and they enjoyed it, or they want their kids to have the same experience. So when we just say come on Sunday, why would they do that? It's no longer free childcare. Now they're expected to come and stay. But when you can say, hey, we're offering a parenting workshop on how to help kids navigate AI. Wow, they need that, right? We're offering a night of free fun for your kids while you go have a night. And you may already be done with VBS, you may be in the middle, and you may be thinking, well, it's too late. It's really not. You've got that list of contact information. You can plan something for the end of July, for August, for September, and just keep that list. Every time you're doing one of these events, reach out and say, hey, we'd love to have Timmy, Susie, Johnny come and be there and be a part. So don't underestimate, like, this is an opportunity to, even if you weren't prepared pre your VBS, or maybe you don't feel prepared now, think through some of those things as you move forward. And maybe you could reach out to a couple of your families from this year's VBS and say, hey, what event would you love to come to? Right? Like, ask them, what can we do to add value to your family? Because that's going to look different in every area. Maybe for you, you need to get some tutors in and help kids as they get ready for back to school. Maybe you need to do a backpack giveaway because you're in more of a low income area and you need a partner and help kids get the backpacks and school supplies they need. So many opportunities. So hopefully this has sparked some fresh enthusiasm. And again, this is not something you have to narrow down to just VBS. Be thinking through the whole year. What is your outreach strategy? Because this is what it's about, right? Is helping families feel connected. And a final note: be aware that you all know this already. There are church hoppers who go to every VBS over the summer, and that is okay. And you may even consider adding to your registration form, where do you have a church home? And now you can go through, and it's not that you're not going to follow up with Timmy who goes to, Second Baptist down the street, but you may follow up differently and just say, hey, we're so grateful. We'd love to pray with you if you ever need anything. So glad that you're plugged in at Second Baptist. So be thinking through all those things. Hopefully this has given y'all some fun things to chew on. Because we're just excited about all the opportunities that you have coming out of VPS.